it seems to me fairly unusual to see a documentary subject also be the co-director. So how did that come about, and how does that partnership work?
Well, it's unusual because we didn't want to do things like the other people do. We wanted to actually think about what it means to make a film about someone, and I think we were hoping that by joining forces and by collaborating, something new could emerge. And Bethann is an incredible storyteller, so I also knew that I was tapping into something like a real voice that would need to be at the center of the film. But more pragmatically, like, we met a long time ago in 2014, and we already collaborated on a short film to introduce Bethann when she was getting a CFDA award. And so I interviewed Bethann, and we spent a lot of time together getting to know each other and talking about the film that she had started, but that was dormant. And it was already called Invisible Beauty, even though it was a very different film than the one we made. Yeah. Do you want to talk about Invisible Beauty?
And so, yeah, it's interesting, and thank you for asking that question, because it is not an easy feat. And some people actually think, that can't be done. And you're going to be the subject and you're going to try and do that too. And it was surprisingly easy in one way, because in my mind I'm thinking the whole time I know I'm a director, and the other part is this is just a shell. Point of it, I never really believed I had a story to tell. So that was interesting for me to go down this road almost with being inquisitive too, but also learn to stay out of my own way, because the story had to be told. If we're going to do it, I'm not going to allow this young man who's done such nice films to get a fork in the road, So I was very much open to it, and it was great that he asked me to do it, and I thought, good on him. And we're talking about me now, and I never thought I wanted to talk about me. So that was kind of interesting. And then I found out after looking at about 4 hours of the footage that he had gotten down from 7, I thought, okay, now I know that there's a story here. I never saw it myself until then.
That's amazing to me that you never thought you had a story to tell, because I think the story in this movie is so compelling.
I know. Isn't that funny? Sometimes you're like a soldier. You just go to war, you come back, you know what you did, but you don't think much of what you did, because it's the normal thing a soldier does, somewhat. There's only a few soldiers out there in the world like me, that's for sure. And I think at the end of the day, you don't think much of it, you just do the work. But it was great, as you say, and I look at it now with a whole different eyes. I learned things about myself I've forgotten, because it's 20 and 30 years before. You forget that you said, racism is live, when you're thinking, no one's racist. Now, I have to go around slapping people saying, "Now, come on, don't embarrass me, you're not racist," But before I was, yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating, revisiting this archival footage of things from 20, 30, 40 years ago. And also, I'm curious for you what the experience is like watching the finished movie and just hearing what other people say about you. Did you learn things about yourself or about how other people saw you?
Yeah, the emotions last night was very, very, I was shocked. I was shocked that people were crying. That was like kind of heavy to see. I was happy to see that, because I was more worried watching the film about what people who don't get it are going to say, which are critics. And I kept thinking about what Redford's daughter was saying at the director's brunch about, don't let noise get in your head. Remember, if you're here as a filmmaker, you have a story to tell. Ignore that noise. And so I sat there watching it. And then as soon as it came for the Q&A, they just were standing at their feet, clapping through the credits, and then they go down, and I guess it's almost like I hit the nail on the head. Because all you want is to reach people. All you want to do is encourage others. All you want to do is say, hey, look at this over here. And they can walk away saying, I never knew that.
What were some of the challenges just bringing a shape to all this? Because, again, Bethann's had such an extraordinary life and so many different phases. And what were the kind of guiding principles in terms of figuring out what was going to stay in and what was going to stay out?
We want to keep everything.
We wanted to keep everything 7 hours. Yeah. We were trying to make it a series, but that was not going to happen. But I think we, with our editor, Chris McNabb, and myself editing, and Hannah Buck sort of guiding us also through this process. I think one of the guiding principles was, what are we learning about Bethann in this scene? It always had to come back to Bethann. We couldn't veer too much to the industry or to the general discourse on race. It had to be a woman's story. It had to be grounded in events and how she felt at each moment. How is Bethann experiencing this? It can be other people's experience. And I think that was really helpful because it's a large story to tell. Plus we have the present, the past. We have this new generation coming in. We had like interviews, archival, and verite. And so it was the biggest challenge, I think, in my filmmaking, editing career, to really bring it all together in a way that felt like I was taking the audience on a journey. You know, I think we were really trying to give the audience a taste of what it feels like to be in the presence of Bethann Hardison. And that's a very specific presence. And it includes all these different, the past, the present, the philosophy, the joy, the humor. And I think that was a tall order, but I think people felt you yesterday when they were watching the film.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Did the two of you ever have any disagreements over the movie?
Not disagreements. There may be another point of view, or never. I don't think we ever disagreed on anything. We've said in the past that we would sort of like discuss things. If it came down like the final cut, what would we have to have? Or, you know, if I really wanted something, you know, we have to just talk to each other long enough that somebody has to give in. But we never got to that place. No, we never got to that place.
Yeah. And it took a lot of courage for Bethann to actually, because some other people were telling us like, you can't say this in the film, you can't, you know, that's gonna hurt someone's feeling or something, and we discussed it, and I was surprised, and I explained to Bethann why I felt like it was revealing a different part of her personality, or it was showing, you know, a moment in time. And Bethann was so brave to just, she saw it, and that's when, you know, earlier she was talking about being a director and being the subject. That's when she was brilliant enough to step into to see it as a story, not just.
I get so personal
herself.
about it. When people do see it, more people who don't know anything about fashion, and then people who don't know anything, right? And don't care about it either, because I don't even care about it, and I'm stuck in the shit. But at the end of the day, you know, it really comes down to, you know, can you just understand this deal? You know, if you could just ride with this person and see, wow, she did all that? I didn't know that. And then it becomes like something valuable to you. I just, you know, you don't want things to be pigeonholed. It can get that way, because, you know, we're still educating people. I am anyway. You know, I'm still trying to make people understand you can't just talk about I have a model story and you not tell this story. You know, it's just limitation things. I know I stood up for something that I thought was right, and I'm glad I did, and it seemed to, we got by with it, you know. So it's interesting. It's been an interesting process.